Hi, my name is Crockford from Judo Pay. I'm here to talk to you about the user acquisition strategy to keep your loyal customers. First, before I talk about what I have behind me, about what spend and what you're going to get your return on, I just want to give a little bit of history of user acquisition. The first part of when the app stores were created on mobile, everything was paid for. There was nothing free, and it's a much different experience because you pay for something, you like it, you love it, you feel like you either got your money's worth or you haven't got your money's worth. And that's obviously very much of a volume game. When free apps came into the market, it still was a volume game, or what everyone thought it should be. So they're going for as many downloads as quickly as possible with incentivized things that really drove apps up the charts and make them more visible, which leads to organic sort of growth and discovery, where you're not technically having to pay for them, but you probably already paid for them in a previous way. And that all seemed like it was the way forward. But the things that started to be discovered was you're not getting that valuable of a user if you're just going for a mass download with that experience. And what we have here on the chart is just a comparison of going, if you focus on going, well, I only want to go for loyal customers who are going to be, really involved with what we're doing and how we're doing it. So you're going to get a user that's going to spend more, and that's going to be more loyal and come back to you more often. So if we're talking about that volume approach, 1/3 of anyone that downloads your app is only going to open up once or twice and then delete your app or never come back to your app. So you're paying to get that 1/3 of that user base, and they're never ever going to make you any money. So the math is pretty simple. If you're looking at spending a marketing cost of £40,000 to get your users, you're going to get on average, either 27,500. If you're going for that loyal user acquisition, or if you're just spamming the whole market, not putting any sort of restrictions in place, you're going to be spending a lot more money, upwards of 110,000. And your cost per download is obviously very different. This seems very cheap, 36p. This £1.45 seems very, very expensive. But if you look at the registration rates of how many people you're going to have, and then what that cost looks like, then you're going to have your value per registration is going to be much higher, which means you're going to have more people buying in your app. And that's the key to this whole process. Is it sounds counterintuitive up front that, if I have more users in my app, I'm going to be making more money, but it really doesn't. The more engaged, loyal users, the more money you're going to make. And I think, when we talk about the key features coming up next, about what you need in your app to make sure that you're keeping your users, and then what we're talking about, sort of the analytics of how to understand your users, I think, this math will make much more sense for you, where, you're going to be, making money here instead of losing money, where you could be down £10,000. So the next thing I want to talk about, some of the key features to hold on to your users. So when you're going out there to do your user acquisition, and you have your users, you need some key features in there and what your users are looking for. And the first thing they're looking for is to save money and to have it as an easier, quicker experience. And that's, in a way, you think is a given, but not everyone has that capability within their app. The second thing you're looking for is where to physically find your store. It's a weird thing to say. You've created a mobile app. You're expecting people to have that experience, to browse, to do a series of different things. But to be able to physically find you in your app and be able to show that is a key feature that you should have in a free app. And then the third feature you should have, and I think this is sometimes also understated, is you need the ability to purchase something within that app. And by doing so, that needs to be a clean, efficient process. Every second that you have someone going through that purchase process, you're losing a chunk of your users. So you need to be able to really make sure it's quick, it's easy, and it's a smooth process. And that's where we as Judo, focus our time of making sure that, that user is at the point of sale. They've made a decision to buy. You don't want any time to come between that decision and the purchase to distract them or have them change their minds. You want them to be purchasing right away. And the last bit is you need loyalty programs within your app. That's coupons. That's sort of anything else you can come up with. If you have a coupon in a digital space, mobile space, 10% of the people who get it will use it, compared to 1% of people in the physical world will do that. And it makes it much better in that experience. And then you're creating, if you have these features, you're creating a loyal customer. And a loyal customer, interesting stat that 8% of all visits to an app or an e-commerce site, 8% of them are returning users, but they account for 41% of your revenue, and that's of people purchasing. And that's a big thing, to be able to have them come back and create a free app that's not unfree for the sake of being free. You need to have that user want to come in, want to come back to that, identify with your brand, and really make it a unique experience for them, so that they love you and want to keep coming back to you. The last thing to talk about is, how do you track those users? So the last thing I want to talk about is more of sort of understanding your users. You've acquired them, you've built your app to make sure that they're going to stick around, and then it's understanding who and what they are. And the first thing I would argue that you have to do is to understand the characteristics of what your loyal customer is. Are they middle-aged male? Are they middle-aged women? Or where do they live? What do they do? And I'm sure it's the same what your normal user base is, but it is going to be different. And a way that you can do that is making sure that you automate a lot of the tracking and of what your users are doing and how they're interacting with your app. Because this can give you a lot of information that if they're coming in right away into an area and you're losing them, you need to go back and revisit that user experience, and you don't have that if you don't have the tracking and the knowledge behind what your users are doing on your app. And then you need, and this sounds like everyone should know this, but you also need to be able to track and understand where are your users coming from. Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? Is it a marketing campaign you did somewhere else? Where are these users coming from? How are you getting your downloads? And then you want to start to focus your marketing effort so that you know where your users are coming from. And it makes the whole experience, one, you're not wasting a lot of time and effort in other spaces and money, and more importantly, and two, you know who your user is, how they're using it, and where they're coming from. And over the lifetime of your app, you can start tweaking these experiences to make sure that we're going back to, you're going to have a more loyal customer who's going to return, who's going to register their details, which will give you more information that you could ever hope for, and really be able to slowly refine and polish until you have an app where you're retaining as many users as you can and they're coming back to you. And it's an experience where the most important thing of all this is the user is enjoying this experience. Their needs need to be your main priority and focus, and then it becomes that wonderful brand experience, and you have a very successful mobile app. So those are my thoughts of how to keep and get your loyal customers, and how to keep them in the mobile space. Thank you.